I was asked. I was asked to speak about the interaction or the interdependence between minimum wage policy and collective bargaining in Germany. As I have only 10 minutes, I want to focus on the last point. And this is about how it was possible for our organization to raise our very, very low collectively agreed wages significantly during the campaign in favor of a national minimum wage. But first I wanted to tell you why was it such late that in Germany grew up the demand for a collective, for a national minimum wage, because it was only since 10 years. So until the 90s, the German system of collective bargaining was really successful. In a highly competitive economy with high wages and relatively equal distribution of income, high social standards, the vast majority of workers participated in the economic development. And there was a principle, I take the picture of a train with the locomotive of the export industry connected with the other branches as wagons, and the locomotive pulled the wagons behind. But now it is like this, that the locomotive goes ahead up the mountain, and the wagons are disconnected and left behind. Now we have an unbalanced distribution, a decline of real wages, growing after the 90s, a growing low wage sector, extremely export-led economy, and low consumption. And there was a growing gap between high and low wages, between export industry and services, between regions, and between men and women. And there was a crisis in the collective bargaining system with sinking coverage of collective agreements and growing white spots without collective agreements, and the growing influence of undercutting organizations. We can call them yellow trade unions, and also a decrease in membership. So the figures, the graphs, this graph is rather interesting. So in comparison to all other countries in the European community, only Germany had a negative real wage development between 2001 and 2009. I don't want to show all the graphs, but this one is also interesting. It is the decline of the bargaining coverage from, yes, it was in the 50s, 60s, it was also over 80, 90%, till a very low coverage now in 2018. The reasons was, on the one hand, the labor market reforms in Germany in the early 20s, and also the reorganization of the enterprise structures, liberalization, privatization, fragmentation, and outsourcing in the economy. And this led also to a decentralization of collective bargaining and of negotiations, and new challenges for the trade unions, because they had to negotiate more collective agreements, more strikes in branches without experience, and they had to care about new acting subjects and had to care about organizing new members. I mentioned already that we had always a minimum wage policy, including also collective agreements. I mentioned also that we have a huge number of, it's only 23 branches with collectively agreed but generally binding collective agreements. The time is too short to explain precisely how that works. But what I think is a very good example how to go ahead as a trade union, as a multi-branch trade union, because we have 60 branches and we have to make collective agreements. It's about 2,000 collective agreements every year and about 1,000 collective agreements with wages. And now we had a rule, we established a rule in our organization, no collectively agreed wages below of €8.50. And we controlled with the database, we controlled the development of the collectively agreed wages with the database. And now, since 2011, it's an interactive, internet-based database which allows us to make regular evaluations of our collectively agreed wages. And it's the evaluation is the possibility to put all the wage categories of the whole wage structure into 7 groups. It's a bit complicated to explain, but these groups are flexible. And for the moment, for this evaluation, I took €8.50, under €8.50, the minimum wage, under €9, the estimated minimum wage in 2017, €10 without €10 is the demand of Verdi, and €11.50 wage without additional social benefits and so on. So this is the structure of our organization, and we see there very precisely how many percent of every wage groups are in one of these 7 classes. And I think most interesting is the development between the January 2012 and January 2016. We can see a development. This is these are 2 evaluations of these 2 data, and you see 2012 it was 3.7% under €8.50, 7.5 under €9. This is all our agreements, and under 10 it was 16.1. And now in 2016, it is diminished significantly. So you see 0.4, 2.8, 9.5. When we look at our problem region, Eastern Germany, we see that it was much, much higher. The percentage under €8.50, it was 6.9, under 9, 11.4, under 10. It was a quarter of all wage groups, and now, 4 years later, it has gone to the better very, very obviously. And this is the last graph that shows our very problematic department. It is special services. This includes security, hairdressers, and also contemporary agency work. And there it was 2012, 34% under €8.50, 39% under €9, and nearly the half of all wage groups under €10. And 4 years later, it diminished significantly. Nobody under €8.50, under €9, only 1.9, and under €10, it is yes, it is nearly 40%, but it is better than it was 4 years ago. And with these figures, I think we can show very obviously that we used our campaign for a legal minimum wage to better also our collective agreements. Yeah, and it shows a successful interaction between both collective bargaining and the demand of a legal minimum wage. And the demand helped to raise the wages in negotiations, and vice versa. The better national minimum wage now we can have with better collective agreements. And we think collective bargaining is better than minimum wage in this sense that it brings civil rights and participation into the market, brings us more and active members, and fighting for better working, and the new members fighting for better working conditions and living conditions. Thank you.